the head softball coach here at Susquehanna University, Brad Posner. Brad, thanks for giving us some time.
Thank you for being here.
3 years in, how do you like the job you've been able to do so far?
Oh, it's been a tremendous run so far. Last 2 seasons we've played in the championship game, and last year winning a conference championship. So far it's been a great run, and we're geared up for another one this year.
Take me back to the day you won that conference title last year. What do you remember about it?
I remember counting down the outs. We played a very tough team, and I think we exceeded some expectations, but it was definitely a goal that we were able to achieve. So I remember sitting in the 4th inning just looking at one of my assistants and counting down 9 outs left, 8 outs left, just counting down. And there's kind of a calm confidence that comes over you, especially with this team. When this team shows up to play, we're really good. And there was just something about that day that was quiet confidence that I could see that we had this. And then the other thing I remember was just the jubilation of the players on the field after the game. There's nothing like just taking a step back and watching your team celebrate all the hard work that they put in over the season.
It's funny, like as a coach, you're not the one you're celebrating, but you're letting the players do the celebrating, right? Because they're the ones who earned it.
Yeah.
When you talk about exceeding expectations, what were your expectations?
The expectation every year is to compete for a conference championship, to put ourselves in a position to achieve like we did last year. There's never a guarantee. You don't know what can go wrong. You can have injuries. The last 2 seasons on championship day, it was raining, so that puts a little wrench into the mix. So you never know what's going to happen, a bad bounce one way, a bad bounce the other. So the best we can do is put ourselves in a good position, and we got that, and then we put the cherry on the cake. So that was really good to see.
Many times it's about the horses, not the jockeys, but 2 years in as the head coach, 53 wins for your program. How do you like the progress you made from when you first stepped in to where you are now?
One of the great parts of this job is, as coaches, we're teachers, and watching the progress of our players on and off the field, watching them exceed in the classroom. We have some players that transitioning into college can be a little tough sometimes. So watching them grow from their first year to their second year. Our current seniors this year, I inherited them as sophomores, and it's tough for them because they have to learn a different system of play. We do some things defensively they may have not done before. So it's a little bit of a different system. But then you do things like work a camp over the summer or winter camp, and you hear them parroting some of the things that you teach them to teach some of the younger kids, and you start to realize that they get what we're looking for. And you can really appreciate that as a coach, that these players have bought into what we're doing, and it showed them the results on the field too.
What's an example of one of the things you talk about defensively, let's say, that maybe is different than other programs?
The way we practice, when we take a lot of reps in certain areas, whether it's working with someone, backhands, forehands. There's a favorite drill of mine that they don't exactly love, which we're putting on helmets on them to take ground balls. And
Why?
Because we end up attaching a carabiner to the helmet face mask to their glove to keep their glove towards their face. And we really work on doing a lot of reps with that.
Okay.
And I don't know that they necessarily love that drill, but it's extremely effective, and that's what we preach. But then when we get to a camp over the summer, they like to do it to the campers that are coming to camp.
Where did you come up with that?
I actually stole it from the former Auburn coach, Clint Myers. I've gone to a lot of clinics, and one of them in particular, he was talking about that. It really stood out, and it's been extremely effective. Other things we kind of work with them are situational stuff, different positional work with each other, team defense, on different schemes, and they really picked those up and have really bought into it.
I imagine it's exciting to bring back a championship team, but obviously there have been some key losses. Tell me about those and how you go about replacing them.
We lost 3 seniors, so in quantity, not a tremendous amount, But last year we had 2 junior captains who are now seniors, and we have a pretty big senior class with a ton of experience. A lot of them were starting by their sophomore year, so they've been playing and have a ton of experience. So they're going to continue that. The other thing we did strategically was we brought in 9 freshmen this year. So we only graduated 3, but we brought in 9 freshmen, so next year we wouldn't have to start over after graduating a huge senior class. So we have a lot of freshmen, some of them who are college ready to play right now. Some of them are going to develop over the course of the year, and it's really going to help us long term because these freshmen are going to have a year under their belt as they continue to progress so they can learn within the system.
What's your breakdown? You mentioned 9 freshmen. There's a lot of teaching that has to go into that. What's the breakdown of your coaching as strategizing versus teaching?
As you said, different. I think it's different for freshmen than it is for seniors. Seniors, by the time they're seniors, already have the concepts down. What I'm seeing this year with the way we're doing things that we may not have had in the past, which is in the third years where it really starts to happen, the seniors are teaching the younger players, the juniors, and even the sophomores a year under their belt, but they're grasping what we do and they're teaching the freshmen. So it's not as much that I have to teach because they're teaching them, and that's what I think sustains the program is their ability to continue what we're teaching.
Sounds like you have some very strong leaders in your team right now.
Yeah, in many different areas. Our leaders encompass whether it's in the classroom, community service, even in their social lives. There are different people who step up at different times, and that really benefits the team that it doesn't have to be the same 1 or 2 people every single time. There's a lot of different moving parts, especially with a big roster like we have this year. So having many different leaders is really helpful. You're
bringing back some pretty big bats from last season on your offense. As you got through your fall program, get ready for the season, what are some of your concerns heading into the team?
I guess it's the same concern we had last year, and that's our consistency. Once in a while, we get a little tripped up with the rigors of daily activities like school.
It comes with the territory, right?
It's part of college, and school always comes first, and we appreciate that. Yeah. But during big test weeks or on any given day, that could trip us up a little bit, and if it all happens at the same time, if everybody's having a little bit of an off day, we had a couple of games last year where that really got to us. We're pretty confident when we show up that we're going to be the better team on the field. But the question is, can we show up for every game, not take a game off? Because sometimes you look up in the 5th or 6th inning, you're down a couple of runs, and now it's too difficult to fight back out of that. It's not just a switch you can turn on and off. Right. It's something we got to prepare early on in the day for our games. So if we can be more consistent with our play, that's going to be a big key to this year.
One thing I know is that at every level, nobody ever feels they have enough pitching. How do you feel about your depth?
We're extremely fortunate this year. We did graduate a senior pitcher who pitched every single inning of the conference championship last year, 5 games in 2 days. Wow. Just a warrior-like effort. And she had graduated, but we have extreme confidence in our returning junior pitcher. We have a sophomore who returned, and then we have 3 freshmen as well that are looking to contribute. So we're very deep in pitching this year. The 3 freshmen don't have college experience yet, but they're going to get that very quickly, and we're excited to have a whole pitching staff so it doesn't fall on just 1 or 2 players.
What are the things you personally look to accomplish as you get through the holidays and get ready for the opening of spring practicing of the season? What are the things you're still trying to iron out? Are you scribbling out lineup cards every day, trying to figure out what configuration works best? What are the things that you're doing to, I don't want to say keep you busy, but the things that maybe occupy your mind until you can get into the real action again?
I think the biggest thing is our practice scenarios for the spring. Being in the Northeast, we spend an inordinate amount of time in the field house. Yeah. We're fortunate with a great facility that we can do that with, but in late January and February, we're not like the Yankees where we can just ship off to Florida for a month and a half. Yeah. So we can be indoors a lot, and that becomes a little bit of a challenge when you're 6-7 weeks indoors, continuing to prepare the team. So my assistant and I look for new drills to come up with. We do some professional development. We'll travel to Las Vegas this year for a coaches convention. And then it's the everyday office stuff, like you said, starting to think about lineups. But there's no athletic contact with our players after the end of our fall day, which is the beginning of October. So nothing really changes personnel-wise from then until the start of the spring. We have those lineup discussions as to where people might fit. We have those discussions with our players as well. And we're also fortunate they do a lot of strength and conditioning to help prepare themselves for the next year.
I read somewhere where when you first took the job, you were asked about what's the biggest challenge about your job here, and you mentioned weather. You kind of hinted at it just now. Is it still something that is kind of a daily hurdle to get through as you prepare not just your job, but prepare your players? Is there any? I mean, baseball in the Northeast, softball in the Northeast. It's it's not pretty sometimes. When the season starts, when it does, it just is what it is. Is there anything you've been able to do the last couple of years to just make that feel a little easier?
One of our focus words this year is going to be adapting. It's a great human trait. And I think that through the last few years, we've had to adapt a lot. And at times that can be very difficult with the rigors of the classroom that these student athletes go through. Those types of sudden changes can be very difficult. Some of our players have schoolwork, they're on committees, they might carry jobs or internships. So any slight change in schedule may throw them off. And as they get older, I think they adapt a little better to the unexpected. We talk about becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's extremely important because they need to understand that by playing an outdoor sport, weather does have an impact, probably more so than anything else. And that can throw us off. And there have been some times where we don't adapt very well. But I think we've learned that sudden changes are inevitable, and we just have to learn to roll with it.
All that said, do you think everybody has circled the week in March where you get to go to Florida and play some games in some nicer weather?
Yeah. The week before that, we start off in Virginia, so that's a nice break. We finally get outdoors. Quite often, that might be our first day on dirt. Wow. If it's nice in February, we get outside on the turf and we practice on the turf, but we don't usually see our field until the middle of March. So we'll go down to Virginia. That'll be a nice outdoor break. We'll come back, and then the following week we will be heading down to Florida. That's 8 games in 9 days. It's very condensed, but having a big roster, that's going to really help us out a lot. And the trip overall, especially with a female sport, the amount of bonding that goes on down there is just tremendous, and the team building is absolutely important for our season.
When you come off a successful season like you did last year, is there a different kind of excitement as you gear up for the start of the next one?
I think the excitement goes by remembering the feeling of winning and wanting that feeling again. That's a feeling you never get used to, but man, do you enjoy it. So each year you start off from scratch. I once heard Bill Belichick from the Patriots talk about each year they're not defending their title because no one can ever take it away from them. You won it, it's yours. Nothing can change that. So this year, we're not defending anything. We're out to win a title, just like we were last year. So we want to put ourselves in the best chance. We want to be competitive and put ourselves in position to win again.
Listen, I think I'm out of questions, but I know you're a Yankee fan. Anything you want to ask me before we wrap this up? Are you good? Or what do you got for me?
Who's going to be the new manager?
That's well, yeah. By the time people watch this, it might already have happened. So I could be clairvoyant maybe and give you the right answer. I wish I knew. It's
me too.
It's a little bit of an upheaval. It's a different type of off season than I'm used to. Usually, that's not the question you're answering. But it's you must have had fun watching a team this year play the way they did.
Young kids playing at their best, not knowing any better. There's another coach, George Wares from Central University. He says being under pressure is a privilege because you know you're doing something right. And the Yankees put themselves in that position again this year to have pressure on them, and that made it exciting to watch. Is the day in and day out.
And a couple of the guys you're watching aren't much older than the players you're coaching, right?
Isn't that crazy?
It's kind of fun. Yeah, when I started this job, the players were the same age as me. Some were older. Now they're about half my age. It's changed quite a bit.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to find the same as you continue on. Year 3 getting ready to start, and hopefully it's a nice, long, successful run for you. Thank you for giving me a couple of minutes today.
Thank you very much.
That's Brad Posner, head softball coach here at Susquehanna University. I'm Sweeney Murti, your guest host on Coach's Corner. Thanks for watching.